Yo, what's up everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and today we're going to talk about the fact that Black History, a mandatory Black History class, African American class, was denied in Forsyth County, North Carolina. And we're going to talk, I want to discuss like what these families should do about that and why we always seem to find ourselves in this situation. But before I go there, let's give a quick word from those who from the sponsors of this video. But before even that, hey, put hashtag popcorn, hashtag gourmet popcorn, or hashtag Uncle Ren's popcorn down in the comment section, and you will be in the drawing to get a free bag of Uncle Ren's popcorn. So put that in there, and then I'll announce on the next video as to who the winner was. So you better hurry up and put it on there, because I might do a video tomorrow. I might do one the day after, so you better hurry up. So word from our sponsors. I'd like to take a moment to thank all our sponsors. For everyone on Patreon who supports this channel through your monthly donations, you are greatly appreciated. And I look forward to providing you free content as well as exclusive live video chats. You will also be able to receive discounts on products from Uncle Ren's Popcorn as well as coaching from Coach Renz. This video is also sponsored by Uncle Ren's Popcorn, where you can get 25 flavors of delicious gourmet popcorn, from salt and vinegar to strawberry cheesecake, from caramel and cheddar to bacon jalapeno, and many others like cookies and cream. I greatly appreciate everyone who supports us at Uncle Ren's Popcorn. This channel is also supported by Coach Renz, where you can not only get all your life coaching, your relationship coaching, but also get your business coaching from Coach Renz, as we teach you how to move your hobbies into a business, not a job for yourself, but a business. We also teach you life principles of leadership and meditation. So go to CoachRenz.com and support the sponsors of this channel. Thank you, and I hope everybody go and subscribe to this channel. If you find me for the first time, we talk about the 360 degrees of life, everything. But today, we're talking about the fact that Forsyth County, North Carolina, has denied on a vote of 7-1, regardless of the people who were speaking. This was in the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, North Carolina School Board, denied 7-1 the mandatory class, which is valid for 1 credit of teaching African American history. And one of the things that they said that intrigued me is that they, in the senior class, they teach British literature, but they have no one of British descent. There's not this huge British community that lives in the Winston-Salem area. I was in the Marine Corps, and I'm very familiar with that area when I was stationed in Jacksonville, North Carolina. So it's very interesting in the comment that you're going to teach British history, but let's understand why. Now, in American history, although it's a hodgepodge of different people from all over the world, let's face it, let's look at reality. American history really composed of 3 main groups of people. 3 main groups of people. That's the Native Americans, the ones who had the land, the Europeans, the ones who came and took the land, and the Africans, the one they stole from a land and brought them to this land. The American history is primarily of those 3 groups of people. Yes, Asian people from different parts of Asia, the Chinese, Spanish people, they all contributed to American history as the country developed. But from its inception, it was the people who already was on the land, the people who came and took the land, and the people who were forced to the land are the main 3 groups of people that compose of early and the majority of American history. But what we know is that in our school system, the ones who won, the ones who were the victors, are the ones whose history is taught. It reminds me of a time frame when I was in high school, when I was in the 11th grade, and I was taking what was called world history at the time. I was very excited to take world history. I had all my history classes that I needed. It was an elective, but I was very excited to take world history, because in all the other history classes that we took, we had the basic European history and how Europeans came to America and how Europeans developed America and how Europeans took over and made purchases and all that kind of stuff. European governments doing colonizing. That was American history. And then it was American history this, and primarily white people did this and white people did this and white people did that. And then there was smidgens of, oh, here's Langston Hughes, here's slavery, here's Harriet Tubman, Here's the Chinese building the railroad. Here's the Native American. We didn't really, the only thing about Native Americans they taught was how they decimated them and how they took over. It really wasn't anything historical. Here's the Seminole Wars, and every time they won something, it was a massacre. So it was, and then if the Europeans won, it was a victory. So I was very excited about this class in world history because even though 90% of the book was European history, it had a chapter on Africa. It had a chapter on India. It had a chapter on the rest of Asia, China and Japan, Korea, all that included in one. It had a chapter, 3 chapters that weren't about Europeans. And I was very excited when we got to that point. And then we skipped them. And I was very pissed. And I went, and the first thing that made me mad is that one of the teacher was one of my football coaches. He wasn't my direct coach. He was the offensive line coach because I played linebacker. But I first went to him, and he said we're not talking about those. We're skipping it. Then from him I went to the teacher who was over all the history courses. I started raising a stink about it. From that person, I went to the vice principal. I started raising stink. Did anything change immediately? No. But then those who was in the class after me, my cousin, matter of fact, took up arms about it the next year. I talked about my senior, then my cousin took it up, and then other people took it up. And finally the class, it wasn't changed in the syllabus, but it was at least changed to Western civilization. That way, you know what you're getting into. They changed the course to that. Now, later on, my school started teaching African American history as a class. But it took that process. What I'm saying is that we ain't got to go through all that process in today's world. What I'm saying is that you can do it differently. Look at the LGBTQ community. In Illinois, California, Colorado, and New Jersey, they teach, Illinois starting next year, they teach LGBTQ history. Were they one of the groups that I just named? No. I mean, there should be Chinese American history before LGBTQ history. There should be Spanish history or Latino history or whichever title they want to call it. History before LGBTQ. I'm not mad at the LGBTQ community. They went out and did what they wanted to do. They got it done. What I'm saying is, black people been in this country for all 400 years from Africa. 400 years. Natives been in this country for estimated about 25,000 years. And yet, 25,000 years of history is not taught. Do we learn about the Olmecs? No. Do we learn about the Zai people? No. Do we learn about the Seminoles or the Cherokee? In the Southeast, do we learn about the Seminoles and the Cherokee? We learn about the Cherokee on the Cherokee Tears, the Trail of Tears. We learn that, which is so funny since so many white people claim Cherokee Indian heritage, but we learn about them getting kicked out. We learn about them moving from reservation to reservation. You learn about a few people, just a few, just a couple is what you learn about. But you don't really learn about the history. You don't learn about, the Mexico and Mexican history and how it which is very big. And it should be very big because in the Southwest, that's a very big part of history. We just learn about the battles that they lost and the trade deals that they lost, but nothing that's positive. But LGBTQ community has forced their way into 4 states teaching their history. But yet, Forsyth County, North Carolina says, no, black people, we're not even giving you one credit. And I know, in the comments, somebody's going to talk about, well, you have African American History Month, which is the shortest month of the year in February. You have that. Shouldn't you be happy? And you have smidgens placed throughout history. But let's be real about this. African American history starts in slavery in the history books. And then how we suffered through, couple abolitionists, Then we get to freedom. Then there's Jim Crow. Then there's Civil War. I mean, there's Civil War, then Jim Crow, and then, you know, this person contributed, that person contributed. You know, they might mention Madam C.J. Walker, but it's always the same people. Oh, here's Dr. King. Don't talk about Malcolm X. Don't talk about Stokely Carmichael. And then you talk about a few other people that are more current. But do you talk about the kingdoms of Africa that were in place that allowed the Europeans to be able to fill their ships? Do we talk about the Mali kingdom? Do we talk about the Songhalese kingdom? Do we talk about the creation of the Guyana kingdom? We don't talk about those. Do we talk about the Zulus and the Ashantis? Do we talk about the East Africans who were like Ethiopians who migrated into Asia and the kingdoms that they had? Do we talk about Egypt? Do we talk about any of those all the civilizations down in the Absu? No. Do we talk about what got there? But we'll talk, and here's the thing. People will say, well, this is American history. But we'll talk about England, we'll talk about France, we'll talk about all these European countries and their history that led them to America, but we won't talk about the African history that led to the black people being in America. We won't talk about the natives who came from this across the Bering Strait, who populated this whole side of the planet 25,000 years ago, because the oldest skeletal remains that have been found on this side of the planet is about 25,000 years. There's the one that's 25,000. There's one that's like 11 or 12,000 years ago. So we'll talk about those. We don't talk about those. We don't really talk about the Aztecs and the Mayans. We don't talk about those people whose culture were very important to the development of this country and the way that they lived and how they lived their life. That's not part of the history books. And after a certain point, even if you just want to start in American history from 9th grade, 10th grade, after a point, bam, you should be able to take the electives to learn about whatever history that you choose, whatever history you use, and get the same credit. But the LGBTQ community has done that. So how do we change that? Because I'm going to make this video short. How do we change that? The problem is that black people got this mode that we asked and we begged and we fought and we complained. We didn't fight. We complained. But then y'all voted down. So you know we're gonna wait 3 years and we're gonna vote you out, or next year we're gonna vote you out. And then it's voting time, and most other people don't even vote anymore because nobody cares at that point. But it's always, we're gonna vote you out. We're gonna vote you out. You know, the LGBTQ community didn't vote nobody in nor out, but they got it done. They got it done because they have a mind share influence going on in the world right now, and we don't have that as black people. But what we do have is dollars. We have dollars. And let me tell you how those dollars work. The first thing we should understand is that every school system gets federal dollars for the number of students in their school system. So if your students are going to those school systems, federal dollars is being given to those schools. You want to change those schools' mind? Take those federal dollars away. Am I saying you got to move to a different community? No, we're in a different age now. We got the internet. We got homeschooling. That's right, I said homeschooling. Homeschooling has become a very big phenomenon here in America. Homeschooling. That is a way to solve this issue, because one, you're going to remove your student from the classroom, and by removing your student from that classroom, you're taking away those federal dollars. Those schools, if black people in mass in North Carolina, in Forsyth County, to say that, okay, fine, you don't want to teach the class, we're going to remove our children from your program. You're not going to get those federal dollars, and then those students are going to get homeschooled. Now, in homeschooling, there are plenty of opportunities. I'm going to give you one right now, and I know this one because it's a family member. It's my first cousin on her daddy's side. So even though she ain't technically my first cousin, she is still my family. So, Dr. Shiva Quinn. You can look her up on Facebook. But Dr. Shiva Quinn is one of my family members. She served 20 years in the Air Force. But the thing about it is that she is a professor. And I'm gonna read this because I don't want to get her stuff wrong, because y'all know how family can be. You say it wrong, they come get you. All right. But what she says is that she's a homeschool professor. She teaches non-traditional students STEM, which is science, technology, I forgot what, the engineering and math, code, I don't know what that one is, code, robotics, junior entrepreneurship, which her daughters has a company called Ziggy and Tootie Cakes. They do cupcakes, and then she teaches African American history and culture. And she's also an author. And this is just my cousin, Dr. Shiva Quinn. Now, there are programs out there. There are opportunities out there that you can have your children being taught what you want them to be taught. You can and still get the credits for it, and still get the same educational certificates and be able to go to college and whatever else. But the biggest issue here is that if a school system is not doing what you want it to do as the person paying taxes, the school system not doing what you want to do, then the way you can change that is by taking the money out of that system. Local governments count on three revenue sources for the most part. Number one is property tax. That's number one. Property tax is their biggest thing, right? Number two is police writing tickets. That's a big income for local counties. But number three is federal dollars. Federal and state funds, especially in the education. If they want to continue to facilitate their schools, they need those federal dollars to come in. And that is based on the number of students that they have. So in order to change it, North Carolina, Forsyth County, North Carolina, black people in that county, if you really want it, stop going to the council meetings begging. Take your students out of their schools and homeschool them. I know some of you is not going to be possible because your children are too small. You don't have somebody at home. Both of y'all working, or one of y'all is going to be very difficult. But if you work together, you can make it work. If you find this parent who used to be a teacher, or you don't even have to used to be a teacher, this parent who's willing to teach first grade, this parent is willing to teach second grade, these parents are willing to teach third grade. If you find those parents who are not working or out of work or stay at home mom and dads, or just want to walk away from their job, and y'all have gotten together and said, look, we got 3,000 students to take care of. Who can teach what, and who can teach it out of their homes, and this is how much we were willing to pay in order to force the county's hand. And I know some people in the comments going to say, black people ain't going to get that organized and all that. I'm sick of hearing people say that kind of thing. Because as long as you say that, of course it's not going to happen. But if you really, really, really are pissed off, Forsyth County black people, about this situation, then it's up to you to change it. And you can change it. If the LGBTQ community can get an entire state to start teaching their history, you can't get a county to teach yours? Simply by just changing where they get a good portion of their funding from. Take away a person's money and the person starts to listen. That's what it's about. Power and money. You have the power, take away their money, and you will get what you want from that school district. Anybody else who's voted in are going to go your way, because they're going to know, I better not be disrespectful to this community, because if I am, I know what power they wield, which is why the LGBTQ community got those 4 states and will continue to get more states to teach their history, which is so much more recent, such a small community, but they're going to be able to do it. Native American community, your history is not taught either. You have your reservations, you have your meetings, you have your groups, and I know y'all teach it in your own small groups. But if you want the rest of the country to respect you more, force it to be taught in school so that every child learns it. Every white child, every black child, every Asian child, every Latino child, everybody learns it, and then you get more respect. Same thing for the black community, because everybody respects the European. Why? Because it's shoved down your throat for 12 years about their history, and you know their history. Black people and Native people are more connected to European ideas than they are African ideas or Native ideas or anybody else's ideas, because their history is taught to you over and over and over and over and over again. There are more black people who are infatuated with European medieval times of kings and queens and knights and all that kind of things. Game of Thrones, what's the little wizard boy, Harry Potter. You're more captivated by that. Why? Because their history has been shoved and shoved and shoved into your face. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I studied, like as a kid, I studied a lot of Greek history, Roman history, King Arthur. I read King Arthur and Merlin. I studied a lot of that stuff. And so, yeah, I developed an infatuation for it. But then I started studying, the history of Egypt and the history of Africa and of other countries in Africa. I started studying the Absu. I started studying, the history of Ghana and the history of Senegal and Mali. And then I started to realize that there is a kingdom there. There are kingdoms there. There are people there that I can emulate, that I can connect to. But I started doing this much later in life. So, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong. If you like the medieval stuff, that's cool. That's great. You don't have to like something that just because it looks like you. But what I am saying is that if you do want your children to learn to love people that look like them, so you want your kids to learn about Native American history, Aztecs, Mayans, Olmecs. You want your kids to learn about the Ashanti and the Zulu and all these other tribes in southern Africa as well. And it's not all about Egypt all the time. You want them to learn about the history of the Indus Valley and the history of China. You want your kids to learn about all of that, all of it, but definitely the ones that look like them. You definitely ones that look like them. So, like I said, homeschooling is a way that you can snap that away. You just take that money, you win. But shame on you, Forsyth County, North Carolina, for not doing this. Talking about you need more study, more data. No, you don't. You just don't want to do it. Just say no. Just tell people we don't care about your history, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it. Just say what you really want to say. Say what you really want to say. But we can change it. You can change it. You have to change it. If it's affecting you, change it. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. And then you want some popcorn? Go to UncleRen'sPopcorn.com. If you want to try to win some, hashtag Uncle Ren's Popcorn, hashtag Gourmet Popcorn, hashtag Popcorn. Any of those hashtags will work. So have a great one. Love you.